Today on Christian World News, we are in the Holy Land to bring you stories that amaze and fascinate, like the 2,000-year-old scroll that hints of a buried treasure in the Judean desert, to the expert who believes he knows where the Lost Ark of the Covenant is, and the Jewish group that's making plans to rebuild the temple as a way to fulfill biblical prophecy. This week on the broadcast, exploring the modern mysteries of Israel. Hello everyone, I'm George Thomas, coming to you from the majestic and beautiful holy city of Jerusalem. More than 60 years ago, archaeologists discovered what could be the oldest treasure map in the world. The 2,000-year-old scroll apparently held close to $3 billion worth of hidden gold and silver. But here's the big question. Is it a hoax? Or is there real hidden treasure buried in the Judean desert?
In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd wandered the hills of Qumran in search of a missing sheep. He threw a stone into a cave, hoping to drive the lost animal outside. Instead, the sound of shattered pottery drew the shepherd inside the cave, where he stumbled on the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century, the Dead Sea Scrolls. In the years that followed, archaeologists found 11 caves and more than 900 documents here at Qumran. But one scroll was different from all the rest. Instead of leather or parchment, it was made entirely of copper, and it could be the greatest treasure map in history. The Copper Scroll describes a hidden cache of gold and silver buried in more than 60 locations throughout Israel. The monetary value is close to $3 billion, but the historical value is priceless. The only place in ancient Israel with that much wealth was the Jewish temple.
This is a tremendous witness to history. To actually have a list of the treasures from the temple itself from the first century is just amazing. Well, we have nothing better than the Copper Scroll now for telling us what was really there.
Stephen Fawn is one of the editors of the Dead Sea Scrolls. He took me up to Cave 3 at Qumran, where the Copper Scroll was hidden for nearly 2,000 years. So why do you think the Copper Scroll was written in the first place?
Well, the Copper Scroll had to have been written just immediately before the destruction of the temple. So it actually fits the glove perfectly for this people known as the Zealots, who were the priestly group who were holding down the temple, keeping the temple from the Romans in the best way possible. But before they were massacred, they left things behind in caves here near Qumran.
Some of their hiding places are easy to find on a modern map, like Jericho, the Valley of Achor, and Mount Gerizim. Others are more cryptic, like Solomon's Canal, which contains a stash of silver coins, a well in Milham, where garments for the high priest were hidden, or Mattia's courtyard, where more than 600 gold and silver temple vessels were buried.
The instructions on the scrolls is like a kid's treasure map in a way. They're talking about caves, they're talking about tombs, they're talking about aqueducts and pools and other things that were known to them at the time, probably with aliases of names applied to these places so that only those people who were part of the inner circle would know where to go, how many steps to go away, and where to dig and find the temple treasure that was buried in that spot.
The scroll's language is a mystery in itself. The writers use a style of Hebrew that dates back 800 years before their time, adding to the puzzle a series of random Greek letters.
It kind of freezes in time the language to around 70 AD that shows us what Hebrew language looked like among the common people of that time.
So what happened to the treasure? Fawn says anyone looking for it today is about 2,000 years too late.
In my mind, most, if not all of these, were actually found by the Romans under the point of the sword. What we do know from the Ark of Titus in Rome, it shows a clear depiction of the main items of furniture and the trumpets that were used in the temple being carried in parade through the gates of Rome to the Forum. And we do know that Titus used the booty to build the Colosseum in Rome. If there's any treasure left, there would have been small parts that might not have been found that still lie out there ready for people to find today. We don't know.
The scroll's last line hints at an even greater treasure, still undiscovered. In a dry well at Kohelet, a copy of this document with its explanation and an inventory of each and everything.
What's interesting is that there were actually 2 treasure maps that were made.
Line 64 of the Copper Scroll is the most fascinating of all. Hard to decode, but quite compelling.
Author Joel Rosenberg hit the New York Times bestseller list with his novel on the Copper Scroll. He believes the second scroll is still out there, and it could lead to the greatest archaeological prize in history.
What if finding the treasures of the Copper Scroll did in fact lead to the Ark of the Covenant being found?
Rosenberg may be onto something. Ancient Jewish writings say the Ark and other First Temple treasures were hidden by priests before the invasion of the Babylonians. Their locations were inscribed on a tablet of copper.
The key scroll has never been found. Nobody has any idea where it is. And if in fact the treasures that are described by the Copper Scroll, and perhaps revealed more fully in the key scroll, are in fact from the Second Temple, finding them would in fact be the most dramatic archaeological discovery of all time.
Up next on Christian World News, real-life raiders of the Lost Ark. The man who believes he was just days away from finding the Ark of the Covenant, and where he believes it rests today.
What is wrong with you?
I hate you.
Easier than this. You just don't know what to do.
Being a foster or adoptive parent can be very difficult. I know. I've been there. That's why Orphans Promise developed Adoption and Foster RX, solutions for wounded families. In this DVD series, parenting experts take on the tough issues and offer proven strategies. Don't miss this vital information. Call now, because there is hope for wounded families.
Insight into today's events, news you don't get anywhere else, and inspiring stories of hope. Now you can share them with your friends. Go to cbn.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to share your favorite videos.
I really wanted to help women, and I knew going back to school would be the best way to just even achieve those goals. Regent University just offered me the opportunity to be able to go to school online to get a degree in a secular discipline of psychology with a Christian basis and be able to take care of my daughter.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Eddie, check out this news story from the 700 Club. It's a perspective you just don't see anywhere else.
Go to cbn.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to see and share your favorite videos.
And welcome back to the special broadcast. It's one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of history, the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. Students of the Bible know the Ark, well, it is the sacred vessel that held the remains of the original 10 Commandments, and that the children of Israel kept it in the most inner sanctum of the temple, the Holy of Holies. Today, archaeologists, they're still searching for the Ark. Some say the trail ends not too far from here, where it all began, right behind me on the Temple Mount.
In 1981, Indiana Jones made his big screen debut, reigniting the world's interest in history's most hunted relic, the Ark of the Covenant. That same year, 2 real-life raiders went on their own search for the Ark. There were no Nazis and no snake pits, just 2 renegade rabbis on a mission. And this is the place where their search came to an end. Designed by God, created by Moses, and revered by the Israelites. From the Sinai Desert to the Temple of Solomon, the Ark of the Covenant was the place of meeting between God and man. In 586 BC, Israel was conquered by the Babylonians. The temple was raided by Nebuchadnezzar's army, and the Ark disappeared from the pages of history.
What happened? Why did this most dramatic instrument of God's glory and power in human history suddenly vanish?
Why do you think people are so fascinated by the location of the Ark of the Covenant?
It's a very interesting question.
Archaeologist Gabriel Barkay has sifted through centuries of Jerusalem's history. And in 45 years, he hasn't found any sign of the Ark.
All what we know is legends.
And those legends stretch all over the ancient world, starting with Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
The Ark of the Covenant was made of wood and it was gold-plated. Such an amount of gold would be melted down at the time of war, immediately after it was captured.
Do you think it's very likely that the Ark itself was destroyed at that time?
I think so. I think so.
Jewish writings say the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark on Mount Nebo in Jordan. Another legend claims it was smuggled to Ethiopia by the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. In Israel, most rabbis agree that when it comes to the Ark, all roads lead back here to Jerusalem. They say the Ark never left the city, and to them, the so-called Lost Ark was never really lost. On June 7, 1967, Israeli troops recaptured Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. The Western Wall was in Jewish hands, and those hands were ready to dig. Archaeologists exposed parts of the wall that had been buried for 2,000 years. But not all of the digging was done legally. In 1981, 2 of Israel's highest-ranking rabbis, Shlomo Goren and Yehuda Getz, picked up their pickaxes and started chiseling under the Temple Mount.
And he knew that in the end of the gate, he will come to the secret room where the Ark of Covenant is located.
Gershon Solomon was one of the paratroopers who liberated the Western Wall in 1967. And he was there 14 years later, the night Rabbi Getz opened a secret passage in the wall.
After midnight, I was in the bed already, and he called me and said to me, Gershon, come immediately, don't wait, your dream is going to be fulfilled. What happened? I told him. The Messiah came, and he told me he's coming almost.
But first came a subterranean slugfest.
Arab demonstrations, you know, they started to throw stones on the workers. The Israelis are coming to build the temple underneath the Dome of the Rock.
At the end of the day, the passage to the Temple Mount was permanently sealed by Israeli police.
No doubt, I tell you, no doubt. We needed just maybe 2 days more to come to the place where the Ark of Covenant is located.
The work was done without archaeological supervision. And when I was the official archaeologist of Jerusalem, I decided to stop the work.
Dan Bahat directed the excavation of the Western Wall tunnels. And according to him, the search for the Ark stops with Jeremiah 3:16.
Prophet Jeremiah says there will come a day when the Ark of the Covenant will not be seen, nor will it be visited. In other words, this was a hint from God. Don't look for the Ark of the Covenant.
Scholars may not agree on the fate of the Ark, but many of them agree on one thing. Its discovery could set in motion another event that's been 2,000 years in the making: the rebuilding of the Jewish temple.
Perhaps when it's time to build the third temple, the second temple treasures will be found. Why? Because both in Ezra and Nehemiah, the Bible indicates that when it was time to build the second temple, God restored the treasures from the first temple, which of course had been carted off to Babylon. When it's time to build the third temple, the second temple treasures will be found. Wouldn't that be dramatic?
It is soon to come. I tell you, I promise you, and you check me, test me. It will be in our lifetime.
Up next, laying the foundations for the new temple in Jerusalem.
Brenda, you gotta see the video I saw in the 700 Club. I pray God will do the same awesome work in your life.
Go to CBN.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to see and share your favorite videos.
Online right now at America's largest retailer is the feature film, The Ultimate Gift. The screenwriter Cheryl McKay is a Regent University graduate.
Being at Regent University was amazing. It was such a creative environment. I had some wonderful professors at Regent. There's so many people there that invested in me and encouraged me as a writer. They also were able to integrate that with your faith. That was what was important to me, and it was why I chose Regent.
Eddie, check out this news story from the 700 Club. It's a perspective you just don't see anywhere else.
Go to CBN.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to see and share your favorite videos.
Kids, we want them to grow up knowing God's Word. But in today's busy world, sometimes we could use some help. The free Superbook Kids Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos,
Follow me.
discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
And welcome back to the broadcast. In 1967, Israeli forces captured the city of Jerusalem during the Six-Day War. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, the Jewish people were close to their dream of a new temple. But that dream, well, it lasted for just a few days. The Temple Mount was later returned to the Muslim authorities. And 4 decades later, Jews are still forbidden to worship there. But as Chris Mitchell reports, that hasn't stopped some people from making big plans to build the next temple.
We dreamed to come back to this place, to the Temple Mount, to meet again our God.
The Temple Mount is the seat of God, the place the Lord would choose. Hamakom asher yivchar Adonai Elohecha.
Every day, 3 times a day, Jews recite this prayer: "May it be your will that the temple be speedily rebuilt in our own time." It's a prayer they prayed for almost 2,000 years.
But Jews here in Jerusalem are doing more than just praying. Just a few steps away from the Western Wall, rabbis and craftsmen are building what they call a temple in waiting.
We're supposed to build a temple, and nothing about that changed. Nothing about that commandment changed.
Chaim Richman is a director at the Temple Institute in Jerusalem.
The Temple Institute is actively engaged in research and preparation for the resumption of the service in the Holy Temple, to the extent of actually preparing operational blueprints for the construction of the temple according to the most modern standards.
This menorah is just one of several vessels created for the next temple. It's covered with 95 pounds of pure gold and has a price tag of $2 million.
Piece by piece, the third temple is taking shape, with priest garments, vessels of copper, gold, and silver, and a new generation of Levite priests, specially trained for temple service.
We have enough in place now to resume the divine service and to build the temple. But obviously, a lot of things have to happen in order for this to happen.
Richmond isn't the only one who's ready to rebuild.
You actually have blueprints, architectural drawings for the third temple?
3,000 years after King Solomon built the first Jewish temple, another Solomon is laying the foundations for the third.
From the womb of my mother, I have a task and a mission in my life, which is connected with the rebirth of Israel.
Gershon Solomon leads a group called the Temple Mount Faithful. They commissioned these cornerstones for the third temple. For several years, Solomon and his followers tried to place the stones on the Temple Mount, and every year they were stopped by Israeli police.
Unfortunately, weakness of the Israeli leadership did not allow us to bring the cornerstone to the right place. The end-time temple should be built on the same location of the first and the second temple.
But that location is already occupied. The holiest site for Jews is also the third holiest site for Muslims.
The Temple Mount, 35 acres of it, is the most explosive piece of territory on the face of the planet.
In 2002, Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat told an Arab newspaper that the Israelis found not a single stone proving that the Temple of Solomon was there, because the temple was not in Palestine at all.
The issue of the temple, it's so sensitive.
Dr. Yusuf Nache is in charge of tourism at the Dome of the Rock. Here's what he had to say when I asked him about the Jewish temple.
It's not an undeniable fact, it is theories.
That is stupid, because the Arabs themselves, they call Jerusalem the place of the temple. And the Golden Dome right behind me, the Dome of the Rock, was built in order to replace Solomon's temple.
To counter this so-called temple denial, Gabriel Barkay is pushing the archaeological envelope. Muslim law forbids any digging on the mount itself. So instead, Barkay's digging through its trash.
We have here the entire history of the Temple Mount.
He and his team are sifting through truckloads of debris, unearthed by bulldozers and discarded by Muslim authorities. Among their finds, a Babylonian arrowhead from the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC, and this 2,400-year-old Hebrew coin, the oldest ever minted in Jerusalem.
Do you think in your lifetime there'll ever be a time when you can actually investigate what's under the Temple Mount?
No, I don't. I'm very pessimistic about it.
Some of the most dramatic traces of temple life have been unearthed here at the Western Wall.
This street was part of the marketplace outside the Second Temple. On the walls, you can still see the marks from the fires that destroyed the temple in 70 AD. And overturned stones, still lying where they were thrown from the top of the Temple Mount by the armies of Rome.
On one stone is a Hebrew inscription, "To the place of trumpeting." It's a set of ancient directions to the southwest corner of the temple, where trumpeters announced the arrival of the Sabbath 2,000 years ago. Even more intriguing is the part of the Western Wall that's still underground.
Amongst the courses of the Western Wall, the line of stones which we have here, this is the greatest and the most exciting one we have here.
Dan Bahat spent 40 years excavating the tunnels around the Temple Mount, and he says the most compelling case for the temple is yet to be discovered.
I believe that behind this stone is a large arch which forms a storehouse, a big storehouse, which stored all the treasures of the temple. But we don't have till now anywhere where those treasures were. And the only possibility is that it must be subterranean somewhere around the Temple Mount. I believe that it might have been behind this wall.
So do you think it's possible that the treasures are still there?
I hope so. Maybe in the future, when it will be possible to dig, maybe we'll get to there. I say we, it must be my grandchildren, the earliest.
But Bahat's interest in the temple is strictly in its past, not in its future.
There is no chance whatsoever for the third temple. The third temple will be when the Messiah comes, and both of our Jews and Christians are waiting for him. So let us see when he comes what happens. It won't happen before.
Rabbis for centuries did not understand this and in fact argued, well, are we supposed to build the temple and then the Messiah will come? Or are we supposed to wait and then the Messiah will build the temple?
Again, I could hear the voice of God like he's speaking to all of us. I brought you here to build my house. Build my house.
Where are we? I cannot lock in on our time or location.
Amazing. Which tribe is he from?
You want the savior of the world to be born in a stable?
History's in the making, mister. Do you want it or not?
Daniel, you have to listen to us.
And who might you be?
You're in great danger. Master! Master! We are about to drown!
Why are you fearful? I say to you, arise.
I have been healed.
When you care, souls are set free. When you give, lives are made new. When you share, eternal life begins. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
Folks, I hope you have enjoyed our special on the modern mysteries of Israel. By the way, if you want to read more about these discoveries, you can like our history and archaeology page on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of everyone here in Jerusalem, Chris, Julie, Yehuda, Jonathan, Jesse, Annika, I'm George Thomas. Until next week, goodbye and God bless.